Fellas, what's up? It's just us in the room. I love it. I love it. So we're wrapping up this series called Obsessed. Now, I don't know what you think about, like what that word brings up in your mind, but whenever I hear about people who are obsessed with something, one of the things I always think about is this. Obsessed people will make crazy deals. Okay, just a couple examples. The original Spider-Man comic, I don't know if we have any comic fans or any Spider-Man fans in the room right now. It debuted in 1962 and cost 12 cents, which I just imagine was a lot of money back in the day, you know. It's now worth 40 grand, $40,000. Now, do you think someone who is just mildly interested in Spider-Man would pay 40 grand for a comic book? No. Okay, only someone who is obsessed with a leotard-wearing, part spider, part nerd superhero would pay that much money. Here's another example. I don't know if you ever heard of Honus Wagner, but if you watched ESPN back in 1897, which I'm sure you did, you probably would have heard of him. He was a Major League Baseball shortstop who ended up in the Hall of Fame, okay? So he's a great ball player. And if you lived in 1933 and owned Honus Wagner's baseball card, you are in luck because it was the most expensive baseball card in the world, all right? It was a whopping $50. $50 for a card. I know that's crazy, right? It's a piece of paper. But in 2000, so you're going to fast forward a lot to the year 2000, Honus Wagner's card was sold for, you ready for this? $1.26 million. Okay, now let me clarify. I didn't say it was simply worth $1.26 million like some baseball card appraiser just decided that's how much it was worth. That's how much it was actually sold for. Someone actually spent that much money for it. And I just say, like I said, people who have obsessions often make crazy deals. But there's something important for us to realize about this, okay? Obsessed people, they don't think they're making a crazy deal. In fact, they think quite the opposite. Like you and I can probably look at a comic book and say, no, I'm not paying 40 grand for a comic. Or we can look at a really old baseball card and say, no, I don't think I would ever pay $1.26 million. But for those people in the moment, none of them thought it was crazy. They thought they'd gotten a good deal. In fact, they're probably bidding back and forth on the baseball card and it got over 800,000 and then it got over $1 million and then 1.1 million and they're just bidding back and forth and nobody's sitting there thinking, this is crazy. They're sitting there thinking, yeah, this totally makes sense. Now, in these situations, obviously, these people had a lot of money, so it seems kind of harmless, right? They realized what they were doing, and to them, it was a good investment, okay? So maybe they weren't that crazy, but the principle of the matter is still true. When an obsession is involved, people often unknowingly make crazy deals. It's people who empty their savings account to get front row seats at a 2-hour concert, or people who gamble away their last paycheck. They don't realize that an obsession has kind of led them to make a crazy deal. And it's also true for an obsession that we're all aware of. Porn. Okay? All right. It's like record scratch, stop, everybody's quiet. And I just feel the discomfort that went through the room when I mentioned that sense of, oh no, did he just say what I think he did? You didn't feel it? Well, let me try it again. Pornography. See, that's even more uncomfortable, isn't it? That's what I thought. Now, whether or not that's the first time you've heard that word mentioned in church, it may not be the last. I want to just start by clarifying a couple of things up front, okay? Number one, I promise you that my goal today is not to guilt trip you. You're not going to have to sign a card saying that you're never ever going to look at a woman again. You're not going to have to stand up in front of everybody and confess everything that you've ever looked at or everything you've looked at in the past couple weeks or months. Two, I really wish that I could say that today I'm going to give you the steps you need to never look at porn again and be completely free from this ever affecting you for the rest of your life. But unfortunately, I can't make that promise. And I know that's kind of a downer, but seriously, the reason I say that is because I've sat where you're sitting right now. I've been there. I've heard the porn talks where I was shamed and I was guilt tripped. I was forced to make promises that I wasn't completely sure I could keep. That's not my goal today. My goal today is simply to help you think about porn in a different way and maybe to uncover some myths or some lies behind it. In fact, I think you could boil it down, what I'm going to say to two things that I want you to know. One, there's always a deal being made with porn. And two, you're always being ripped off. See, we have the tendency to believe, and this is what I believe, way back in the day, is that porn is just something that we do because we're guys. Because we're teenagers, because we're turned on or whatever. There's no deals being made. It's just there. That's what we think. That's what I thought. But the truth is, there's always a deal being made when we look at porn, always. And these deals may look something like this, okay? We go to porn because we need distraction, so we make the deal. In return, we're no longer bored. We go to porn needing to see a beautiful woman. In return, we get to see beautiful women. We go to porn, we need to feel good. In return, we get to feel good. We go to porn needing to experience something new and exciting. And in return, there's always something new and exciting. We go to porn for some type of exchange. And see, from the outside looking in, hey, all these things sound like great deals. I have a need, porn meets that need. It's always available. It never rejects me. What could possibly be wrong with that deal? Well, the truth is we're being majorly and unbelievably ripped off. The Bible gives us this great picture of what this kind of rip-off could look like. The book of Proverbs that we've been talking about a little bit in this series is actually written for young men as they enter into adulthood. You may have never heard that before. The idea of the book is like, hey, now that you're not a kid anymore, here's some things that you need to know in order to be successful in life as a man. And one of the main subjects of the book is sex, okay? Some of you got way more interested in the book of Proverbs. You get way more interested in anything when someone says the word sex, okay? Now, chapter 5 is one of the passages talking about sex. And so check out how it describes the lure or the appeal of an adulterous woman, or the woman who's trying to, get the attention of men and draw men towards her. It goes like this: "My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Turn your ear to my words of insight, that you may maintain discretion and your lips may preserve knowledge." In other words, hey, son or young guy or whatever, just pay attention because this is going to help you. It goes on to say this: "For the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil." Okay, she's very appealing, very alluring. "But in the end, she is bitter as gall, sharp as a double-edged sword." Ouch. You're not going to call many ladies sharp as a double-edged sword, are you? Okay? "Her lips drip honey, and her words are smoother than oil." In other words, she looks like she has a lot to offer. I mean, she looks like she's ready to make a really, really good deal with you. But the warning is the same that we've been talking about. It's a bad deal. You think you're getting something good, but in the end, she's bitter as gall. And now, gall is just like this extremely bitter, nasty liquid. Like in the Bible, most of the time, it's referred to as the bile in a liver, okay? You have a liver, everybody has a liver, you know how it works. There's bile in the liver. That's how it's described. It's disgusting. Just trust me on that. And basically, Solomon, this man who wrote most of Proverbs, is telling us that lust, it will entice us with these smooth and sweet words, or these images, or these pictures, or these ideas, but it will end up tasting bitter and disgusting. In fact, later on in the chapter, he talks about us losing our strength, or losing our dignity, or even losing our life. And the idea in all of that is clear. What we think will be a great trade ends up being a scam. See, in our minds, we think that we're going to porn needing to feel good, needing to see a beautiful woman. That's what I thought. But these are just symptoms of our real needs. The things that we really need in those moments are actually so much more, so much more significant than that. Things like our need to feel strong, or to feel wanted, or to feel accepted, our need to feel successful, and on I could go. These are the actual deep needs we all have that we're trying to meet with porn. These are the questions we're hoping porn will answer. But the problem is that these needs, can only be met in healthy relationships with people and with God. In fact, I believe God placed these needs inside of us in order to drive us or push us towards actual relationships with actual people. And porn is a lot of things, but it is not relational. In fact, the whole allure of it is how non-relational it is. It's completely safe because the person on the screen isn't real. They can't reject you. The exchange that's taking place with porn feels like a good one. But just like other obsessed people who have made crazy deals, we have no idea that we're being totally ripped off. It is a rigged game. Porn convinces us that our needs are just physical and just sexual, when our actual needs are emotional and spiritual. And like a con man, porn comes along when we're feeling down or we're feeling lonely and offers to meet all of our needs for us, all the while having no intention of doing so. See, we go to porn wanting to feel strong, and it actually robs us of our strength. We go to porn wanting to feel wanted, but when we're done, we realize that we're alone. We go to porn wanting to feel accepted, but we end up feeling isolated and lonely. We go to porn wanting to feel successful, but we end up kind of feeling like a failure. That's a bad deal. Man, we are being ripped off. Now, there's probably a couple of different types of guys in this room. Some of you disagree with everything I just said, okay? You're like, forget you. You love porn. It's one of your best friends. You have no intention of quitting ever. My goal isn't to force you to say that you won't ever look at porn again, but I do want you to consider something, okay? Just consider something. When you want to look at porn, ask yourself why. Is it because you're just a hormonal, sexually charged teenage guy? Or could it be that deep down you have some of these other needs that I've mentioned? And that maybe, okay, look, just maybe, you're using porn to try to meet those needs. You're using porn to want to feel loved or wanted or strong or accepted, or on and on we could go. And if so, I'm not judging you. I just want to ask you, how is that working out for you? Are you feeling less needy and less lonely over time? Are you consistently growing and feeling loved and accepted just the way that you are? Do you feel stronger? Do you find yourself still wrestling with the same needs over and over and over again? It's just something to think about. Now, to another group of guys in the room, and you guys agree with everything I said about porn, and you really, really want to quit looking at it, but you also hear that nagging thought in the back of your mind that says, oh yeah, how many times have you wanted to quit? And how many times have you just gone right back to it? Well, I just want you to know that I feel for you, really. Listen, I know this is one of the most difficult things you're ever going to have to battle as a male, and I think you should be applauded just for attempting to fight, just for not giving up and giving in and continuing to battle. And I want to give you some simple, practical advice that I think may help you along the way. And the first thing is this, to call it out. Start by at least admitting that you're getting ripped off. When you're tempted to look at porn, at least tell yourself, hey, I'm going to this because I want to feel wanted or strong or loved or whatever, but I'm being lied to. I'm about to get scammed. And you just call it out. It doesn't seem like much of a step, but I just think, imagine how your view of porn would change if every time you thought of it, you thought, no, that's a ripoff. It's a big step. 2, tell someone about it. Hey, I think the more you talk about it, the more it loses its hold on you and loses its buzz, so to speak. I don't think you need to talk to everybody. I don't even think you need to talk to girls about this. I think you find a wiser, older guy and you talk to him, or you have a group of people that you can kind of share this stuff with. 3, progress is not perfection, okay? I think this is a battle. I think it's rarely won overnight. If you expect immediate perfection, you may quit trying if you fail one time. And you may find yourself saying, yeah, I was there, I heard everything that was said, and I made all these commitments, or I felt so inspired, and I did good for a little while, and then I messed up again, so just forget it. Just forget it. I'm not even going to try anymore. Look, your goal is progress, not perfection. Okay? And you may reach perfection one day, but that's not the goal. Make progress in how you view porn, how you view yourself, how you view women, how you view God. It will take time, but you can do it. You can do it. And 4, I want you to make a better trade. And I've seen teenage guys do this. They've traded porn for something that they'll get an equal trade on. That time they would have spent, they've used exercise, working out, taking a walk, practicing the guitar, finding some hobby, spending time with God. And they've focused that time and moved it towards something else, made a better trade. That's another thing that you can do. But as we close today, I want to remind you of what I think is the greatest trade of all. And the Bible talks about it in 2 Corinthians chapter 5. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. In other words, Jesus Christ, who knew no sin, he was sinless. He was made sin on our behalf. In other words, he took our sin, he carried it. And what's more, he gave us his righteousness, which means we get his perfect account or his perfect standing before God. Just as if we've never sinned. Why? Because Jesus never sinned, and he took our sin upon himself. So I just want you to know this. If you're in Christ, then there's no amount of porn you could look at that would change the way God feels about you. I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I'm not saying it's not a big deal to God. It's one of the most unhealthy things you can do, but it doesn't change your position before God. It doesn't change the fact that you are his. Because the ultimate deal was Christ trading his righteousness for our sin. Because of that deal, we can now have life. And guys, listen, that I think, wherever you're at, that is something that you can obsess about.